There was a time before any of us ever considered terms like standardized test scores and core curriculum that we were excited about learning. I recall watching public television programs as a child that were designed to promote education. I counted cookies with Cookie Monster. I counted sheep with Ernie when he couldn't sleep. I learned new words and new ways to use the letter of the day with Oscar the Grouch. You see, Sesame Street, home to these lovable characters, was and is still devoutly focused on teaching children letters, numbers, colors, and shapes, the building blocks of a solid education. One of my brightest memories will always be of Big Bird stumbling upon a giant banner with 26 letters. He sounds out all the letters as a single word, Abkadefki Jekyllmanok Gerstuvwixes. He goes on to sing a lively song and eventually discovers that what he's found is the alphabet. For decades now, Sesame Street has remained a fixture in American society. But the overall education of this nation's children has changed. Fundamentals, like the ABCs, are still the same, but the methods of instruction and the ways we measure progress are very different. Tonight, I want to teach you a new way to view your ABCs. I hope to convince you that the United States government-elect and the citizens they serve should support education reform. I hope you will see clearly, especially in elementary through secondary levels, that we need to bring consistency to proficiency standards, and that we need to develop a national curriculum without lowering expectations of student achievement. I will prove to you that this is a real problem. I will show you that a solution is available, and I will let you know how you can get involved. As any lesson should, let's begin at the beginning with the letter A. You must accept that there is a problem. Inconsistencies in both the standards by which success is measured and the curriculum by which students are taught have led this nation to a critical economic point wherein American students do not possess the minimum basic skills that add value to their contribution in the global economy. Let's look now at the stark reality that proficiency and standards vary widely from state to state. Kathleen Manzo, writing for Education Week in 2007, shares that third grade reading proficiency levels vary from 6 to 62% nationwide. Chester Finn reinforces this with evidence that says Colorado only requires 6% proficiency for third graders in math, while Massachusetts requires 77% of their fourth graders in the same subject. Finn goes on to state that 2/3 of school children in America attend class in states with mediocre or worse expectations for what their students should know. As a parent to 4 children currently enrolled in Georgia public schools, I was shocked and dismayed to discover that Georgia ranks 48th out of the 50 states in regards to their testing standards versus a world-class exam. This means Georgia tests do not hold students to high enough standards or levels of accountability. We tell our children to dream big. We tell them they can do anything, be anything, if they just work hard enough. I don't want to find out when it's years too late that the illusion of proficiency today has destroyed my child's dreams for tomorrow. These inconsistencies become particularly troubling blows for high school seniors. Michelle McNeil reports in Education Week that several states now require graduation exit exams, but they allow students that cannot pass these exams alternatives so that they don't have to withhold diplomas. This leniency means students can receive a diploma without even basic minimum skills. Shelton and Brown report study findings that say more than 60% of community college students need remedial courses. They blame this on a lack of connectivity between K through 12 curriculum and the content of college courses. Many of you may be asking yourselves right now, how is this my problem? What difference does it make in my life if others are not successful as long as I am a success? In answer to that, you must accept that the growth of the U.S. economy is at a critical point wherein the rise of unskilled, uneducated workers is beginning to take its toll on the economic growth rate and affecting the nation's looming position in the global market. Here we look to the words of Elaine Chao, the U.S. Secretary of Labor. In a speech in 2008, she stated an unskilled, uneducated workforce cannot advance in a global economy. Gary Becker, the 1992 Nobel laureate in economic science and a professor at the University of Chicago, says that human capital refers to the skills, education, health, and training of individuals. Human capital is the greatest asset we have in the global economy. Without education, the United States is no longer building human capital. Cynthia Golden, writing for Education Next in 2008, proved that the economic growth rate of this nation fluctuates directly based on secondary education enrollment. Let me repeat that for you. The economic growth rate of this nation fluctuates directly based on secondary education enrollment. Her report highlighted this direct correlation, showing how increases and decreases in the economic growth rate parallel those of secondary education enrollment. As enrollment declines, so does economic growth. Given the current state of the U.S. economy, it is vital that we begin to look for the root causes of economic decline and accept that education is a major factor. Once you accept that this problem exists, the next lesson is brought to you by the letter B. B is for believe. You must believe that we can implement a solution. You must believe that setting uniform proficiency standards and developing a national curriculum at the federal level will solve the problem. Diane Ravitch in Education Week believes that a standards-based national approach would put a firm halt to the individual states' attempts to declare themselves and their schools proficient based on criteria they have deemed worthy themselves. These states would no longer get away with declaring 6% proficient. Already at the national level, the National Assessment of Educational Progress provides a method of measuring student achievement. But the test is not mandatory. States continue to use their own subpar test, and they develop their curriculum to teach the test. The U.S. Department of Education already believes that all states and schools should have standards of achievement and accountability that are challenging and clear, and that each state should have methods that effectively meet those goals. But the national education standards are voluntary. Voluntary. This is not acceptable. We cannot count on states to take the high road when given an option to do otherwise. Furthermore, the national standards approach is already proving successful globally. For example, in Singapore, where students overwhelmingly outperform the United States students, Sean Cavanaugh, writing for Education Week, relates this remarkable success to uniform standards and expectations for all students. You must believe implementation of national standards here would yield the same results. Although some may feel that the 2001-2002 reauthorization of the No Child Left Behind Act simply needs time to work, there is evidence to the contrary. Perry Bacon, writing for Time.com, says that state lawmakers believe the goals are unrealistic. Manzo, again, insists that the states have too much freedom, both to determine the test and to determine their proficiency levels. John Cronin, a researcher for the Fordham Institute, says that any success from NCLB is relative because the tests are getting easier and the proficiency standards are falling. As small children, many of us delighted in stories of our parents' and grandparents' childhood travails. Our predecessors' laborious march uphill both ways in 3 feet of snow has become a humorous cliche to suggest that kids today have it easier. But is that really true? Do kids today have it easier? Does a 4th grader who can't read feel like the road is easier? Does a high school senior who's in danger of not receiving a diploma feel like the journey is simpler? These students are facing an uphill battle, and they may never reach the top. The avalanche began years ago, and those that are not buried already under the weight of a flailing education system are waiting on that slippery slope below, hoping to avoid the chilling wave. With these proposed reforms, we can halt that slow climb and lift these students straight to the top. If we give them the tools they need, not only will they make it to the top, they will sail down the other side with ever-increasing hope and prosperity. Wouldn't you rather live in a world where students are gliding into success? That brings us to our final lesson. C is for choose. You must choose to take action. Once you accept that a problem exists and you believe that a solution will work, you must choose to take action. Let me show you how ABC really is as easy as 1, 2, 3. First, you should contact your U.S. senators and congressional representatives. The website shown here will provide you with their contact info. These men and women are your voice in the government. They are your avenue to being heard. Secondly, you can get more involved with local PTAs, PTOs, and school boards. These individuals are critical to the implementation of new reform. They need to know they have the support of their community. These first two actions don't have to cost you anything other than your time and your effort. Third and finally, I urge each of you, especially those that may be undecided, to consider a career in education. If you've already made a career choice, you can still volunteer with local tutoring agencies or after-school programs. I urge you again to take action. Let your voice be heard. Sing your new ABCs with gusto. Accept that the problem is real and sing out against the appalling disparities. Sing out against the atrocities in academia. Sing even louder when you believe that we have a solution. Sing that you might bestow knowledge. Sing that you might build an educated populace. Sing louder still as you choose to take action. Allow the crescendo of your newfound hope to carry into the hearts and minds of those critical to changing from this current crisis. You can make a difference. Now that you know your new ABCs, next time, won't you stand with me? Thank you.